Today is the day that I start a cross-country drive in the Tesla Model 3. This vehicle is also loaded down to the max. It is completely full. It's fast. Here's the route we're going to do. I love how Tesla handles that. So stay tuned. Today is the day that I start a cross-country drive in the Tesla Model 3. Now, the only issue I had was I went to pull in, and next to me was a Prius parking in an EV spot. A Prius is an ultra-low emission vehicle, but it is not an electric car. So I couldn't charge because there was another Tesla Model 3 next to it, which has already left this morning. Right here is the charger. And by the way, it was free. So by staying at this hotel, I in essence topped off my gas tank for free. But you'll notice this is not a Tesla plug. So what I had to do is to use the adapter that came with the car and instead pull the cord from there to right here. Well, I'm going to plug it back in here for a few more minutes just to top off on our way out of here. Hey everybody, I've stopped for our second charge of the day. We started this morning in Seattle, stopped in Yakima, and now we're in Pendleton. There are 8 stalls here, a couple Teslas. It's charging at 600 miles an hour right now, 148 kilowatts. We got down from about 85% down to about 38%. I got to tell you, there's a lot of stops. So the other vehicle is a Jeep Wrangler that you're going to see here in a little bit. It has yet to stop for any gas, and it gets terrible gas mileage. It's a bit of a hassle to stop every hour and a half to 2 hours, I got to be honest. And when I pulled in that I needed to wait for 20 minutes to get to the next supercharger, which is still not in Boise, although Boise's 190 miles away. Coming out of Seattle, we definitely hit some serious mountains, and the kilowatt hours or the amount of energy per mile used really went through the roof. Notice Ontario's just outside of Boise, and they have 6 superchargers there, and they're 250 kilowatt maxes. I'll tell you, the charging fees are pretty steep. 47 cents a kilowatt hour. Home electricity is about 15, give or take, on some of the recovery fees. So it is more expensive, but it is still a lot cheaper than a gasoline powered vehicle, or at least most gasoline powered vehicles. If I had more time, I would just let this thing charge up almost to 90%, and I'm pretty sure we could make it into Boise all the way. But I want to keep up with the other vehicle. I think I'll go ahead and hit that Ontario supercharger as well. We'll be back after a while. All right, back on the road after another supercharger stop. This was the V3, 250 kilowatt, and man, it is fast. That's what I learned. I was literally there for like 10 or 15 minutes, and we went from 28% up to 70% just like that. The app said I only needed 5 minutes to charge before making it the rest of the way in Boise, but we decided to stop and get a drink, and by the time that was done, well, it was already that high up. Cost $15.51 from Ontario, Oregon. It was a great stop. All right, good morning. Here we are in Salt Lake City on a very bright and sunny day. 7:30 in the morning. One of the things I love about the Tesla app is when you pull in, it lets you know what you're going to pay per kilowatt for charging. And notice here at this location, they have variable pricing. A lot more expensive during the day and actually pretty cheap at night. My home electric charge is about 13 cents a kilowatt, so that's not too bad for a commercial site. But we're about to find out how much it costs to charge from 22% up to 90%. And right now we're at a whopping $10. So imagine that, if you could fill up most of your gas tank for 10 bucks. Not bad. I imagine it'll cost $12.50 or so by the time we're done. We'll see how close I am to it. Looks like my first stop is in 2 hours and 37 minutes, but it's only 178 miles. So we're going to be stopping at the supercharger in Rock Springs, Wyoming. Hey there everybody, we are back on the road after a stop. One of the things that continues to concern me is range. Like, there's a little bit of anxiety. Am I gonna run out of battery before I get to my next destination? I've been charging extra each time I stop so that I'm over what it says I'm going to need. It seems like I'm getting to my destination as calculated. The one thing I'm also interested in checking out is real world range. You know, my car says it'll do about 300 miles on a tank, 100% charged. In real world, especially when we're out west, coming through the mountains, I was having to stop and charge max 200 miles. So that's a bit of a bummer, especially when you can find cars now that will get you 500 miles plus on a single tank. This last supercharger station, by the way, what did it run me? $16.45 to go from a 24% charge up to a 90% charge. Not bad. Again, I'm curious to compare that with the Jeep, because we just gassed up the Jeep and it took $78. So I need to add that to the previous $78 charge, which is how we started the morning, and then add up my two tickets, and I'll do that here when we're off the road. My guess is pretty substantial difference. Well, here we are on the final leg of our cross-country journey. I left Cincinnati, Ohio this morning, headed to Washington D.C. today. It's about a 500-mile trip, about 9 hours, 8 hours driving, about 40 to 50 minutes on charging, depending on how long that takes. I've learned a lot on this journey, and I've learned some tips and tricks on how to better charge the car and kind of minimize the inherent disruption that comes with driving an EV. But by the same token, it's worked out much better than I thought it would. You can hear about this and a lot of other things over at the Alliance for Innovation and Infrastructure. That's AII.org on the web. You can also follow AII on most digital and social media channels at AII Nonprofit. I'm proud to say I think AII has made a big difference since it's been founded, and it continues to do very important work. That work is not ending, however, and we rely on donors and subscribers such as you to help us with this work. The average kilowatt hour I've been paying at superchargers, according to my Tesla app, is about 38 cents. The other thing I have realized, though, is if you take some time to do the research, you can find a lot of destination chargers that are free. Shout out to Mad Tree Brewing, where I stopped yesterday. They had about 5 EV stations, one CHAdeMO, non-Tesla, and the rest were Tesla. That started off charging at 48 amps. It dropped down to about 30 well before I was finished. And I have a feeling it has to do something with plug share because multiple cars had joined, but not bad. At home on a standard standard 110 outlet, you're going to get 12 amps. With a higher rated 20 amp house current, you're going to get about 16 amps. If you hardwire a 220 outlet into your garage, you're either going to get 40 or 48 amps, which is pretty good. That'll charge the battery, most of the battery, in about 4 or 5 hours, more than enough for overnight charging. What I'm starting to see, however, though, is everyone is trying to monetize this now, and they want to charge you for that electricity. Sometimes it's okay, but honestly, sometimes these destination chargers are so slow, it's not worth the hassle. I'd rather just wait and either get it at home for free or find another place. Well, this is a lot of fun. This is what we're talking about when we talk about infrastructure and related issues. Look at all these cars and trucks just at a standstill on an interstate highway. If you look at the delay costs, idling cars not moving, time lost, the value of that time lost, goods not making it to market on time, truck drivers' routes cut short because they can't be effective or efficient during the time that they have to work each day. These are all things that we can describe and we can quantify. Infrastructure is important. And when there are bottlenecks like this, well then we lose efficiency, and ultimately that means increased costs for all of us. All right, so we've just about finished charging here in West Virginia at Sheetz, which was actually pretty amazing because they have a traditional gas station out front. They have all these superchargers in the back, and I'm able to go in. You can order a bite to eat, you know, use the restroom, buy stuff. I actually stopped, and they're not sponsoring us, but Chick-fil-A, love you guys. We've gone from 13% charge up to 80% charge here in, I don't know, 20-25 minutes max, because this is one of the version 3 superchargers. It's been pretty amazing. Started off charging us at 1,000 miles an hour. And again, as the battery fills up, that charging rate diminishes exponentially down to only using 59 kilowatts now. Because that's all the battery can take at 80% charge. And so we've added 203 miles. We're charging it right now, at 235 miles an hour. So not too bad, but clearly only a fraction of where it started at since we're down to 57 kilowatts. We're going to disconnect and move on. So we're getting ready to come up on the second stop of the day here in Hagerstown, Maryland. So far, I spent $20.06 at the first energy charging stop. I'm guessing about the same here. Then I have to account for the energy from this next charging station all the way to the destination in D.C. I think we'll get to D.C. for less than $50. Probably about 45 to 47 would be my guess, but I could be wrong, and we'll see how close I am when we get there. You know, it's not bad, but I'll tell you, it's not great either. I mean, you know, historically, when gasoline was under $2 a gallon, I think we could have done the same trip for about the exact same price. Again, zero emissions, which is awesome. However, we have to take into account also where the charging stations are getting their electricity from. And that's hard to figure out. So we have to go back and look at where the charging stations were located, and then we can try to make an educated guess as to what sources were used to produce the energy. And that will be an interesting exercise in and of itself.